I left my husband to care for my terminally ill ex. 3 years later, he died. And when I returned, pregnant, and broke, my husband slammed the door in my face. I was folding laundry when my phone rang at 11:13 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost didn't answer. Unknown number. Probably spam. But Rodrigo was already asleep, and something in my gut told me to pick up. "Hello, is this you?" A woman's voice, shaky. "It's Camilla. Javier's sister." I hadn't heard that name in 6 years. My hand stopped mid-fold, a towel suspended in the air. "Camilla. Hi. Is everything?" "He's dying." Her voice cracked. "Stage 4. Pancreatic. They gave him maybe 3 months, and that's if he's lucky." The towel dropped. "He's asking for you," she continued. "I know it's been a long time. I know you have your own life now. But he's scared. He's alone. And he keeps saying your name." I stood there in my kitchen, the one Rodrigo and I renovated last spring, the one with the stupid expensive backsplash I didn't even want, and felt the floor tilt. Javier, my first love. My first everything, really. We dated for 3 years in our early 20s, back when life felt infinite and love felt invincible. He was there when my mom died. Held me through the worst year of my life. Then grad school pulled us in different directions, and we drifted. No big fight. No closure. Just distance. I met Rodrigo 2 years later. He was stable. Dependable. Safe. We got married, bought a house, built a life that made sense on paper. But Javier was the one who knew me when I was broken. "I'll think about it," I told Camilla, even though I already knew. She gave me the hospital name and hung up. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I'd made up my mind. Rodrigo's reaction was exactly what I expected. "Are you out of your mind?" We were standing in the kitchen, coffee going cold on the counter. I'd just told him I needed to take some time off work. I'm a physical therapist, and my clinic was already short-staffed, to help care for Javier. "He's dying, Rodrigo. He's your ex. He has no one. He has a sister. She just called you. She has 3 kids and a full-time job. She can't be there 24/7. Rodrigo slammed his mug down. "And you can? You're just going to quit your job and play nurse for some guy you haven't spoken to in years?" "I'm not quitting. I'm taking leave. For how long? I don't know. A few months. However long he has." He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "This is insane. You know that, right?" I did. Everyone I told thought the same thing. My coworker, V, literally said, "Girl, no," when I told her. My dad hung up on me. My best friend since high school sent a single text, "You're throwing your marriage away for a ghost." But none of them understood what Javier had been to me. He didn't just love me. He saved me. When I couldn't get out of bed after Mom's funeral, he sat with me in the dark. When I couldn't eat, he made soup and fed me like a child. He never asked me to be okay. He just let me exist. How do you let someone like that die alone? "I have to do this," I said quietly. Rodrigo's face hardened. "If you walk out that door, don't come back." "Don't say that. I mean it." His voice was ice. "You leave for him, we're done. I'm not waiting around while you play Florence Nightingale for your ex-boyfriend." I looked at him, at the man I'd shared a bed with for 4 years, the man whose mother still sent me birthday cards, the man I'd promised forever to, and felt a chasm open between us. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I grabbed my coat and my keys. "You're really doing this?" His voice cracked for the first time. I opened the front door. Cold November air rushed in. "Don't come back," Rodrigo said from behind me. I walked out anyway. The drive to the hospital took 40 minutes. My hands shook the entire way. When I got to Javier's room, Camilla was sitting in a plastic chair by the bed, holding his hand. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes red and exhausted. "Thank you," she mouthed. Then I saw him. Javier was barely recognizable. Gaunt. Gray. Hollow-cheeked. The fourth in his arm looked obscene against his skeletal wrist. But when he opened his eyes and saw me standing there, something in his face softened. "I knew you'd come." The first week, I told myself it was temporary. I'd help get him stabilized, set up home care, coordinate with Camilla, then go back to my life. Rodrigo would cool down. We'd talk it through like adults. By week 3, I'd stopped lying to myself. Javier couldn't be alone. Not for a minute. The pain would hit without warning, these waves that made him scream into his pillow so the neighbors wouldn't hear. I learned to recognize the look in his eyes right before it came, the way his breathing would change. I moved into his apartment. 1 bedroom, 4th floor walk-up, no elevator. I slept on the couch. Sometimes I didn't sleep at all. Camilla came when she could, but she had 3 kids under 10 and a husband who worked nights. She'd show up with groceries, help me change Javier's sheets, then disappear back into her own chaos. I could see the guilt in her eyes every time she left. "I'm sorry," she said once. "I wish I could do more." "It's okay," I told her. And I meant it. This wasn't her burden. It wasn't anyone's burden, except mine. I'd chosen it. My clinic called after 2 weeks. "We need to know when you're coming back. I can't give you a timeline. Then we need to fill your position." I hung up and stared at my phone for 20 minutes. Rodrigo's number was still saved under home. I'd tried calling 3 times in the first week. All 3 went straight to voicemail. On the 4th try, I got a message: "The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service." He'd blocked me. His mother, who'd treated me like a daughter for 4 years, sent a single text: "We're praying for you." That was it. No "come home." No "we understand." Just prayers from a distance. My friend stopped checking in. He sent a final message after I canceled our weekly dinner for the 3rd time: "I love you, but I can't watch you do this to yourself." I was alone. Completely, except for Javier. The chemo was a nightmare. He'd vomit for hours after treatments, too weak to even lift his head. I'd hold the basin, wipe his mouth, whisper things I didn't believe. "You're doing great. This is working. You're going to beat this." We both knew I was lying, but some nights were good. He'd be lucid, almost himself. We'd watch old movies on his laptop, and he'd make the same dumb jokes he used to make when we were 23. For a few hours, I'd forget he was dying. One night, after a particularly brutal hospital stay, 12 hours in the ER because his pain meds stopped working, I got him home at 3 a.m. He fell asleep immediately. I sat on the couch, still in my jeans and hoodie, and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd breathed. I needed to get out, just for an hour. Just to feel like a person again. I walked to the bar 3 blocks away. Ordered a whiskey. Then another. The guy next to me started talking. I don't even remember his name. He was passing through town for work. We talked about nothing: weather, sports, the bartender's terrible taste in music. When he asked if I wanted to go somewhere, I said yes. I wasn't married anymore. Rodrigo had made that clear. And for one night, I didn't want to be the woman holding a dying man's hand. I wanted to be nobody. Anonymous. Free. So I went with him. 6 weeks later, I was in Javier's bathroom, staring at 2 pink lines. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just stood there, the test on the sink, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead. I did the math in my head. Timeline was close enough. Could be his. Could be the stranger's. But Javier and I had been intimate exactly twice in those first weeks, before the chemo made him too weak, before the pain took over everything. It could be his. I needed it to be his. When I walked back into the bedroom, Javier was awake, watching me with those sunken eyes. "You okay?" he asked. I sat on the edge of the bed. Took his hand. It felt like paper. "I'm pregnant," I said. His face didn't change for 3 long seconds. Then he smiled. Not the polite, pain-managed smile he'd been giving Camilla and the hospice nurses. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen since before he got sick. "Hours?" he whispered. I should have told him the truth. Should have said maybe, or I don't know, or there was one night I can't take back. But when I looked at his face, at the first real hope I'd seen in months, I couldn't. "Yes," I said. "Hours." He pulled me closer, his thin arms trembling. "We're going to have a baby." His voice cracked. "I won't die for nothing." Javier died on a Thursday morning in February, 2 months after I told him about the baby. He'd been lucid the night before. We'd talked about names. He wanted something strong, traditional. I sat by his bed, 6 months pregnant, my hand on my belly, while he made plans for a future he'd never see. "Promise me," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "If something happens to me, don't let them forget I existed. Don't let our baby grow up not knowing I wanted this." "Nothing's going to happen," I lied. He smiled. He knew. By morning, he was gone. Camilla found him. Called me sobbing. I sat on that couch, the one I'd been sleeping on for 5 months, and felt nothing. Just emptiness where the grief should have been. The funeral was small. Javier's parents had died years ago, so it was just Camilla, her husband, a few cousins I'd never met, and me. They were polite. Distant. I was the ex-girlfriend who showed up at the end. They didn't know how to place me. At the reception, Camilla hugged me. "Thank you for being there. I don't know how we would have done this without you." But when I asked about staying in the apartment, just until the baby came, just until I figured things out, she looked uncomfortable. "The lease is in Javier's name. The landlord already wants it cleared out. Where am I supposed to go?" She looked at my belly. Looked away. "I wish I could help. We just don't have the room." 2 weeks later, I was in a motel off the highway. $40 a night. Mold in the bathroom. Sirens every few hours. I tried Rodrigo on a Sunday afternoon. I drove to our house, the one that used to be mine too, and stood on the porch for 10 minutes before I knocked. My belly was obvious now, impossible to hide. I wore the only maternity shirt I owned, washed in a motel sink the night before. The door opened. Rodrigo looked exactly the same. Same haircut, same stubble, same annoyed expression he used to make when I forgot to take the trash out. But when he saw me, saw my belly, his face went stone. What do you want? Can we talk? Please, there's nothing to talk about. Rodrigo, I'm pregnant. I have nowhere to go. I just need. You slept with him. Not a question. A statement. It's not, it's complicated. You left me for him. You left everything. And you got pregnant. His jaw clenched. Was it worth it? He's dead. Something flickered in his eyes. Not sympathy. Something colder. Good, he said. I actually stepped back. Get off my property. His voice was flat. Final. I gave up everything. You chose to give it up. No one made you leave. You walked out that door. He started closing it. Now deal with it. The door slammed. I stood there, 7 months pregnant, on the porch of the house I'd lived in for 3 years, and realized no one was coming to save me. His parents didn't call. His sister, who used to text me recipes, never reached out. I was erased. The motel money ran out after 3 weeks. I got a job at a diner, breakfast shift. My feet swelled so bad I had to cut slits in my sneakers. My back screamed. But I smiled at truckers and poured coffee and pretended I wasn't falling apart. One of the regulars was a lawyer. Older woman, sharp eyes. She'd watch me waddle between tables, and one day she handed me her card. You look like you need help. I told her everything. The whole pathetic story. She listened. Took notes. Then leaned back. Javier had assets, a house. Some savings. Not a lot, but. And you cared for him during his final months. Full-time care. Yes, and you're carrying his child. I hesitated. Yes, she tapped her pen against her notepad. You have a claim. Palimony, at minimum. Possibly more if we can argue common law partnership depending on the state. You gave up your career, your home, your income to care for him. That's worth something. I thought about Javier whispering promises about our baby. About the nights I held him through pain. About everything I'd sacrificed. I gave up everything, I said quietly. I deserve something for that. She nodded. Let's file. The court date came 6 weeks later. I walked into that courthouse wearing a dress I'd bought at Goodwill, 8 months pregnant, alone. Camilla and her family sat on the other side of the aisle. They wouldn't look at me. Their lawyer was a man in a $1,500 suit. He carried a folder, a thick one. My lawyer went first. She was good. Laid out everything. The 5 months of round-the-clock care, the job I quit, the marriage I destroyed, the savings I burned through. She showed the hospice records with my name signed in as primary caregiver. She showed receipts for medications I'd paid for out of pocket. My client sacrificed everything, she said, gesturing to me. Her career. Her marriage. Her home. She did this out of love for a dying man, and she's now carrying his child. This isn't about money. It's about basic human decency. I sat there, hands folded over my belly, trying to look dignified. Trying not to notice the way Camilla's husband kept shaking his head. The judge, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses on a chain, listened without expression. Then their lawyer stood up. He was calm. Too calm. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't grandstand. Just opened that folder and pulled out a stack of papers. Your Honor, we'd like to submit medical records into evidence. My lawyer glanced at me. I shrugged. What medical records? He approached the bench. Handed copies to the judge, to my lawyer, to the court reporter. My lawyer scanned the first page. Her face went white. These records, he continued, are from Dr. Philip Montoya, Mr. Javier Reyes's oncologist. They detail his complete medical history, including a voluntary vasectomy performed 8 years ago following a testicular cancer scare. The room tilted. The procedure was confirmed successful by 3 separate physicians. Mr. Reyes was definitively sterile. He could not father children. I couldn't breathe. The lawyer turned to face me. Ms. Vargas claims she's carrying Mr. Reyes's child. The medical evidence proves this is impossible. My lawyer was frantically flipping through the papers. Your Honor, perhaps there was a reversal, or... There was no reversal, he interrupted smoothly. The records are comprehensive. Mr. Reyes remained sterile until his death. The judge looked at me over her glasses. Ms. Vargas, did you know about this vasectomy? My mouth opened. Nothing came out.
I didn't. Maybe it failed. Failed vasectomies are exceedingly rare, the lawyer said.
And documented thoroughly when they occur. There is no such documentation here. I didn't know. My voice cracked. I thought. You thought you could lie to a dying man to manipulate him emotionally, he said, voice still deadly calm. You thought you could exploit his final months to secure financial gain from his estate. That's not what happened. Then whose child are you carrying? Silence. Every eye in that courtroom was on me. I could feel Camilla staring. The judge staring. The court reporter's fingers frozen over her keyboard. I made a mistake, I whispered. One night. I thought, I hoped. You lied to my client's brother, the lawyer said. You gave a dying man false hope. You allowed him to believe he was leaving behind a child. And now you're here, attempting to profit from that deception. I took care of him. My voice broke. I was there every single day. After you calculated what you could gain from his death. That's not true, but my lawyer wasn't defending me anymore. She was just sitting there, staring at the papers, her career flashing before her eyes. The judge removed her glasses. I've heard enough. Ms. Vargas, your claim is dismissed. Furthermore, given the egregious nature of this deception, I'm ordering you to cover the defendant's legal fees in full. Your Honor. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down like a gunshot. I stumbled out of that courtroom into a hallway that felt like it was spinning. Someone had a phone out. I heard the shutter click. By the time I got back to the motel, it was already online. Local news site. Woman lies about paternity to steal from dying man's family. They used my name. My full name. The comments were worse than the headline. Gold digger. Disgusting. She deserves everything she gets. Rodrigo sent one text. Just one. I hope it was worth it. I blocked his number. Not that it mattered. He was already gone. 3 weeks later, my water broke at 4 a.m. in that motel room. I called 911. Rode alone in the ambulance. Labored alone in a room with fluorescent lights and a TV playing infomercials. The nurse was kind. She held my hand during the worst contractions. Didn't ask where the father was. When my son was born, screaming, red-faced, perfect, they placed him on my chest and asked for information for the birth certificate. Father's name? I looked down at this tiny human. This person I'd created in the wreckage of everything I'd destroyed. He had Javier's dark hair. Or maybe he had the stranger's. I'd never know. Unknown, I whispered. The nurse wrote it down without judgment. My son cried. I cried harder. 5 years disappeared in a blur of night shifts and judgment. I named him Orlando. Not after anyone. Just a name I liked, a name that was only his. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in the part of town where people didn't ask questions. The walls were thin enough to hear the couple next door fighting every Saturday. The heat worked half the time. But it was ours. I worked 3 jobs that first year. Waitressing. Overnight stocking at a grocery store. Cleaning houses on weekends while Orlando stayed with the woman downstairs who charged $15 for 4 hours of childcare that was mostly just letting him watch TV. I was tired. Always tired. The kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones. But I kept going. The scandal followed me everywhere. Google my name, there it was. First result. Woman lies about paternity in estate fraud case. The article had been shared 4,000 times. The comments were still active years later. I applied for a job as a physical therapist at 3 different clinics. One never called back. One said they'd filled the position. The third was honest, we Googled you. We can't have that associated with our practice. So I stopped being a physical therapist. I became invisible instead. The woman who poured your coffee. The one who mopped the floor after the store closed. The one whose name you never learned. At Orlando's preschool, the other mothers didn't talk to me. They'd heard. Small town, long memories. They'd cluster by the playground, and when I walked up, conversations would stop. Polite smiles. Cold eyes. One of them, a blonde in yoga pants who probably never worked a day shift in her life, actually pulled her daughter away when Orlando tried to play with her. Sweetie, come here, she said, too loud. Let's go on the swings. Orlando looked at me, confused. Why doesn't she want to play? Some people are just busy, I said, but he was 5. He was starting to notice. The worst part wasn't the strangers. It was the moments alone. Late nights, after Orlando fell asleep, I'd sit on our sagging couch and replay everything. Every choice. Every lie. I lied to Javier. That was fact. I manipulated a dying man. Maybe not intentionally, but the result was the same. I fought for money that wasn't mine. I played victim when I was the villain, and I lost. Lost the case. Lost my reputation. Lost any right to claim moral high ground. But here's the thing no one wants to hear. I do it again. Not the lie. Not the court case. But the 5 months I spent caring for Javier? I do that every time. Because I was there when it mattered. I held his hand through the kind of pain that breaks people. I cleaned him when he was too weak to stand. I sat with him through 3 a.m. panic attacks when he'd wake up terrified of dying alone. And yes, I got pregnant. Yes, I lied about it. Yes, I tried to profit from his death, but I also loved him. The world didn't want that to be true. They wanted a clear story. Gold digger uses dying man. Simple. Neat. Shareable, but nothing about those 5 months was simple. Orlando asked about his father when he turned 5. We were eating dinner, spaghetti from a box, the cheap kind, and he just said it. Why don't I have a daddy? I put my fork down. Some families are just different, I said carefully. But where is he? He's not around anymore. Did he die like grandpa? He'd never met my father, but he knew the concept. Something like that. Did he love me? And that question, that one, broke something in me. Because Javier did. Even if Orlando wasn't his, even if the timeline didn't work, even if it was all built on a lie, Javier loved the idea of him. Loved what he represented. Hope. Legacy. Proof that his life meant something. Yes, I said. He loved you very much. Orlando nodded, satisfied, and went back to his spaghetti. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried into a towel so he wouldn't hear. Last week, I saw Rodrigo. I was leaving the grocery store, Orlando holding my hand, and there he was in the parking lot. Getting into a nice car with a woman I didn't recognize. Younger. Pretty. Laughing at something he said. He saw me. For 3 seconds, we made eye contact. Then he looked away. Got in his car. Drove off, like I was a stranger, like I'd never existed. That night, I tucked Orlando into bed. He insisted on sleeping with the nightlight shaped like a rocket ship, and stood in his doorway watching him breathe. His hair fell across his forehead the same way Javier's used to. Or maybe I just wanted to see it. Maybe I'd been creating stories for so long I couldn't stop. They can call me what they want, I whispered into the dark. I was there when it mattered. Orlando stirred in his sleep, and I realized I didn't know if I was trying to convince him or myself. I stopped Googling my name 2 years ago. It doesn't change. The articles, the comments, the narrative, it's frozen there like a monument to my worst moment. Woman lies about paternity in a state fraud case. That's who I am to the world. That's who I'll always be. Some days, I'm okay with it. Most days, I'm not. Orlando started kindergarten this year. Real school, not just preschool. He was so excited he wore his backpack around the apartment for 3 days before the first day. At pickup, I stand apart from the other parents. They know who I am, someone always knows. There's always that moment when a new mom tries to be friendly, starts chatting, then goes home and Googles the names from the class list. After that, the conversations stop. Last week, one of the dads, late 30s, beard, probably works in tech, pulled his kid away when Orlando asked if they could have a playdate. We're pretty busy this month, he said, not even looking at me. Orlando's face fell. Maybe next month? Maybe. We both knew what that meant. On the walk home, Orlando was quiet. Then, Mom, why don't the other kids want to play with me? I knelt down on the sidewalk, right there in front of the dollar store, and looked him in the eyes. It's not about you, baby. It's about me. What did you do? How do you explain this to a 5-year-old? I made some mistakes a long time ago. And some people can't forgive that. What kind of mistakes? I thought about lying. Making it simple. But he deserved better than more lies. I told someone something that wasn't true. And I hurt people because of it. He processed this with the seriousness only a kindergartner can manage. Did you say sorry? I tried. But sometimes sorry isn't enough. He hugged me. Right there on the sidewalk, his little arms around my neck, backpack bumping against my shoulder. I forgive you, he said. I held him and cried into his hair and didn't care who saw. I think about Javier every day. Not the dying version. The real one. The one who used to make me laugh so hard I'd snort, which would make him laugh harder. The one who knew exactly how I took my coffee. The one who held me through the worst year of my life and never asked for anything in return. I lied to him. That's the part I can't escape. When I told him Orlando was his, I knew it might not be true. I knew the timeline was wrong. But I looked at his face, at this man who'd spent 6 months in agony, who'd lost everything to cancer, who had nothing left, and I gave him hope. Was that cruelty or kindness? I still don't know. The world decided it was cruelty. The judge, the lawyers, Camilla's family, the internet, they all agreed. I was a manipulator. A liar. Someone who used a dying man for financial gain. And you know what? They're not entirely wrong. I did lie. I did fight for money. I did try to claim something that wasn't mine. But they weren't there. They didn't see Javier's face light up when I told him about the baby. They didn't hear him whisper I won't die for nothing with more peace than he'd had in months. They didn't watch him fall asleep smiling for the first time since his diagnosis. I gave him that. Even if it was built on a lie, I gave him hope when he had none left. Does that make me a monster? Maybe, but I'd do it again. Last night, Orlando couldn't sleep. He came into my room at midnight, dragging his rocket ship nightlight. "Mom, can I ask you something? Always. When you die, will I be alone?" My heart stopped. "Baby, I'm not going anywhere, but eventually. Everyone dies, right?" 5 years old and already thinking about mortality. I didn't know if I should be proud or devastated. Eventually, yes. But not for a very, very long time. And then I'll be alone. I pulled him into bed beside me. "You'll never be alone. You'll have people who love you. You'll build your own family. You'll be okay." "How do you know?" "Because you're strong. Stronger than you know." He nestled against me. "Are you strong?" I thought about the last 5 years. The jobs, the judgment, the whispers, the isolation. The nights I cried into my pillow so he wouldn't hear. The moments I wanted to give up but didn't because he needed me. "I'm trying to be," I said. "I think you already are." This morning, I woke up before sunrise. Orlando was still asleep, starfished across my bed, mouth open, completely trusting the world wouldn't hurt him. I made coffee. Stood at the window. Watched the sun come up over the cracked parking lot of our apartment complex. I'm 36 years old. I work 3 jobs. I live in a place with mold in the bathroom and neighbors who scream at 2 a.m. My name is permanently attached to a scandal. Rodrigo remarried. His family pretends I never existed. Javier's family won't speak to me. I have no savings, no career, no redemption arc coming. But I have Orlando, and some mornings. That's enough. The world reduced my story to a headline. They called me a liar, a manipulator, a fraud. They're probably right about most of it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not claiming I was the victim. I made choices. Some were right. Some were catastrophically wrong, but I was there when it mattered. I held a dying man's hand. I gave him hope in his final weeks. I loved him, imperfectly, selfishly, maybe even destructively, but I loved him, and I created something beautiful from the wreckage. Orlando stirred in his sleep, mumbling something about dinosaurs. I finished my coffee. "They can call me what they want," I said to the empty kitchen. I know what I gave. The sun finished rising. I had a shift at 6. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.